All right, man. So welcome to the Parley, Real People, Real Talk. Today's guest, Jonathan Pang, martial artist slash stuntman
What's up?
slash all-around good guy. Jonathan, man, how you doing, man? How you living? Let us know what's
I'm
up.
doing good. Just trucking along here in the film industry.
And how has that been since, like, obviously the slowdown? Everybody's feeling that slowdown. What's it been like? How has it affected the industry?
Yeah, there was everything got shut down for a while back in March, like last year. Last year, this time, I guess everything got shut down. But then within a couple months, things were up and running again. It's a little bit of like a 2-for-1 special now, because anytime you get booked for a work day, you also have to have a COVID test day, which if you're in the performers union, then they've fought for us to have an 8-hour call just for the COVID test, and they've also pulled them back from like the nasal pharyngeal swab, which is like the back of your throat, the brain tickler.
Yeah.
You like just like 1 centimeter into your nose. So it's like, it's not that bad. It's just a nose tickle. It doesn't tickle your brain. And
Well,
there's people from the medical community that are iffy about that because of like, oh, it's not as accurate or whatnot. But that's where they met between economics and medicine. They were like, we got to get people to work. They're not going to consent to the other one. So
yeah, everybody's got an opinion on that, I guess. But without getting into that too much, are you living out in BC, like permanent residence, because that's where the industry is busiest, or are you out there, for however long you have to film and then kind of head back here?
No, I pretty much moved here, just like straight up, like leap of faith, moved over here.
That takes a lot of balls, man. Talk me through that process. How is it? Because honestly, like, that's one thing my father did. He recognized that, where he was at was not, he didn't see a very good future there for his family. And he made the move to go to a different country. I mean, it's not a different country, but still, that's quite a ways. And it's a way from everything, man. Yeah. So talk to me about that. What was that like?
It was serendipitous. Because like I was in Toronto trying to work my way into the film industry since I would say 2013. That's kind of when I met the larger stunt community in Toronto, and then I was just hustling along trying to get unionized. But it's that whole thing of like, you need experience before you get experience.
How do you get experience without experience?
How do you get into the union? You got to be on a union set. You have to work union days. And like, well, how do I get union days if I'm not union? And it just keeps going.
So how long did it take you to get into the union?
I didn't get in until I came to Vancouver to scout it out in 2018.
Wow.
And I wasn't really expecting to get unionized, but I just kind of fluked on a gig. It was like literally like 4:30 on a Friday, and they like call me up. It's like, hey, drive out to this studio in the suburbs. What size shoe are you? I'm like, oh, great. And next thing you know, it's just a whirlwind of circumstance. Next thing you know, I'm like full union and whatnot.
So what was your first gig that you were like, yes, this is fucking going somewhere? Because I know I recently seen you in that show that was on Netflix there.
Yeah.
What was it called again?
Woo Assassins, probably.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's pretty dope, man.
That's the one. That was 2018. They were like,
I was super happy for you. I was like, that's awesome. How'd you land that?
That was the fluke. That was the Friday afternoon, 4:30. Like, come out. What size shoe are you? I was like, all right, cool. Come out here. But I'm not union yet. Don't worry about it. And then just, so it turns out whoever's shoes I had to fill, they were fitted for 2 different costumes, and then schedules started shifting, and it ended up that they had to shoot both scenes involving both costumes on the same day. So everyone's scrambling to find somebody to fit the same costume. Wow.
Hey, man, you're like the stuntman Cinderella, the slipper fit. That's awesome. So what happens when you go there now? Do they ask you, like, do they quickly like, hey, what's your background, what's your capabilities? I need you to do this, I need you to do that. Like, how does that go down?
Well, like, I just send out my resume and my demo reel on the regular, and then just kind of hope for the best.
No, but I'm saying once they, like you say, like they called you up, they're like, hey, what's your shoe size? get the fuck down here. Once you get down there, what happened? Like, walk us through that. Because everybody who's aspiring to do this, they can kind of have an idea of what it is, what it is to go through it, how spontaneous it can be, how hectic it could be.
Well, once you get booked for the days, they check your availability, which you always say yes, because that's how you get the job. And then and then there'll be a fitting of some sort where they give you the clothes that they want you to wear on the day, depending on the character. And then there might be a rehearsal of some kind. They might clump the wardrobe fitting and the rehearsal together on the same day, so they only have to pay you the one day. And then
wow, eh? That gets
hard. They're doing that with the COVID test. They're like, "Yo, you got a COVID test? Here's your fitting. Here's your,
Off you go. Wow, just like that, eh?
Yeah. And then you generally have a rehearsal day, and then maybe 2 rehearsal days, depending if they do a camera rehearsal, and then you're shooting. There's not too much deliberation about your talents and stuff. Might be just like what you might consent to. Like, if you feel like falling off a truck, that'll happen like on the day of like, who wants to fall off a truck? And someone will just like, you just kind of volunteer for that. And then
that's crazy. I love doing that shit. I would love to do it.
They might ask like, what kind of experience? I haven't been asked that too much. They asked me if I was willing to shave my head for this one gig because on Wu Assassins, if you saw me, I was the bald chef that gets kidnapped. Yeah, one of them anyway.
That's dope. So, what about it do you love? What makes you want to do it? What made you move? Because I mean, you had a good community where you're at. I mean, you and I share something in common is we both had great instructors. Sean Zerger at FAC. I think he's a great guy. I'd love to actually get him on here. But ever since I met Sean, he's a super cool cat. He's an intellectual who can fuck you up. So I like that about him. He's got a really cool vibe. And he's a good instructor. So I know what it's like to not want to leave your, what I would consider roots. I'm not sure if that's putting words in your mouth, but what made you love it so much that you would risk everything and just fucking go?
Well, it just didn't seem to be getting much out of it in Toronto. Like, I had a great network, and I knew a lot of people, and I think I was in pretty good regard with everybody. It was pretty good standing with everybody. There may have been some kind of political stuff by association, but I wasn't like directly involved with it. So it was unfortunate, but the industry itself, there was a lot more like red tape in the industry in Toronto, as far as I'm concerned. That was just my experience. some people had it easier at times, some people had a harder time. Just grass is greener on the other side kind of thing. And I was having a really hard time getting into the union.
So would you say like with this industry is very much like who you know?
Yeah. Who you know is very important, even over here, right? Yeah.
Well, so what was it like when you first moved there? Like, if you didn't know anybody yet or whatever, I'm sure you've met people now, but how did you cope with not having somebody there?
I think I was on a bit of a rampage mode back then. Just like 2018 was the year. Like I went to Thailand and trained for a month, and then like strike out on my own and scouted out in Vancouver for like a couple months. Ended up being like 4 months. And so I was just excited to like meet all the people here and make some new friends. Because as far as I'm concerned, with people that I knew in Toronto, it was kind of like things on repeat. You're seeing the same people all the time and getting the same feedback. So
it takes a lot of courage to recognize that, though, and just say, "Fuck it, I'm gonna get out of my comfort zone and just fucking try." You know what I mean? Did you before you went out there? Did you give yourself like a timeline? Like, okay, I'm gonna head out here. I'm gonna risk it all. Put my marbles on the table.
Yeah.
Like I give myself a year. If I don't have shit in a year, maybe gonna move back. Was that the case at all, or was it just like, no, fuck it, I'm going until I make it?
It was kind of like that. I wasn't really thinking about that when I did the move here. It was more when I was scouting it out. It was I just kind of put a limit based on when the weather would change and start getting rainy and cold.
Got
But I delayed my departure anyway for about a month to see if I could get anything, and then nothing happened, so I went back. Um, yeah, what else can I say about that? Yeah, no, not really. I just kind of trusted in myself. There was a little bit of doubt when I first got here, but like
Shuck it off.
I have was like kind of flexible. It was like 1 year and then monthly, so I could still move if I wanted to with like some good flexibility. But I'm still here.
What are you doing for training now, Jonathan? Have you found a gym up there, or are you just more of like doing your own thing? Because I see you train a lot. You go through your C-lot motions, and I see you focus on like Muay Thai, and which is kind of like how I do it too. I kind of like for me, it's like I have themes,
Yeah,
a month, or even sometimes weekly, or like a principle, and I'll try to play with it from every art that every interpretation that I know of. I'll visit that technique through the different arts. But I notice you do that too, and I like that about you. I like that you're an open-minded dude who has a lot of good education in a few different arts. So how do you do that there? Have you found a gym, or are you mostly self-training?
Right now I'm mostly self-training, like ever since COVID and the lockdown and stuff. There is one place that's one of like 2 JKD places that I know of here.
Nice.
That's it's called Ancient Fire, and like the Maelstrom guys, the Vancouver like Dog Brothers guys train out of there. They had a merger just before I moved here, and
cool.
And joined up their gym, and then lockdown happened.
Fucking COVID, eh?
Good grind. I was at an MMA school doing Muay Thai sparring and Jiu-Jitsu, like back to back, and then I would go to Ancient Fire, and they had the JKD and some more BJJ, and then sparring.
How do you find the JKD there compared to what you were learning here in Toronto? Because like with regards to stunt work, BC is the place to go. But as far as I understand, and I've never been there, which is why I'm asking, as far as martial arts, Toronto's kind of like the Mecca, I would say, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So how do you find the contrast in training, quality of training? I'm sure they got good guys out there, but how would you find that the difference? Like it's got to be easier to find a place to train in Toronto.
I think the best way to describe it is it's interesting because a lot of people describe Vancouver as a whole this way, and that's that it's kind of stuck in the 90s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just like from like the training.
I'd rather be there then, man.
You know?
Straight up. But, how so? How so? Explain to me.
Let's see. Well, they're very heavy on just like reinforcing the basics. It's like you could go somewhere for a long time and not get out of like 1 and 2 kind of thing, and like conditioning base kind of thing.
Oh, that's good.
So it's very like it's like the North American kickboxing compared to like Thai kind of thing, where it's just like let's get really good at the basics and then out condition your opponent kind of thing. There's kind of there's also like kind of a karate. There's like karate roots here. So everyone's like, you know.
Oh, nice. A lot of jiu-jitsu there.
There's good jiu-jitsu out here for sure. Alliance BJJ is out here. You got a whole bunch of gyms for BJJ. Yeah.
So when you're training, and this is where I had a hard time, because at one point I was like, fuck, I'd still do it, but like I'm not chasing the whole union thing. But if anybody ever said, hey Mark, we need a fucking guy to play a bad guy, I'd love to do that shit. So Jonathan, just putting that out there. But no,
when I mature in my career.
That's sorry.
I'll keep you in mind when I mature.
Hey, I can play a bad guy. But listen, what's the difference? Because I found like translating your real martial arts training over to stunt work is not necessarily as easy as what people would think. No. Can you kind of like give some insight into that? For these people who are possibly who are training martial arts, looking to branch out into that industry?
Well, it's some people consider fighting for film like a completely different martial art. But I think the majority of it is just this concept of like being able to be safe as you're performing. And of course, there's like dramatic flair and like performance that you have to add to it. But for the main part, in terms of technique, it's just like safety measures, right? Of just like instead of targeting the actual face, you're going to be like a foot out or in either direction, depending where the camera is. And so you have to be aware of the camera and how to cross that line to sell the reaction.
And like when you guys join, well, I'm sure they have classes that teach you how to do that stuff, right? Like how to throw, because depending where the angle is, you need to know what the angle that the camera's seeing, right? So if the camera's on this side, I'm punching past your face on this side.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like a general concept of like over the shoulder, right? If there's a parrot looking over your shoulder at the person you're punching, you want to be able to pass through that line of sight.
So having a lot of, I guess, control is going to be key. Pull back.
Having good control and good flow and rhythm is very important, and it's way more important than like your timing for like if you had like counter timing or something like that. But I think
you're not fighting.
What?
It's not like you're fighting, so you don't have to worry.
Not fighting. So like everything is choreographed. So you have to have the good choreo memory. Like some people are good at fighting because their instincts are good or their reflexes are good, but they might not be able to remember a long combo.
So now, with regards to choreographing, would you attribute your ability to learn that and retain it quickly because of your training in traditional martial arts and training in forms? Do you think that helped you in any way? Because I could see that helping. Because I started from traditional martial art as well, and being able to retain and learn forms and practice those set movements, I think that could actually help there.
Yeah, for sure.
What art did you start in?
What's that?
What traditional art did you start in?
I did Wing Chun. Yeah, I did Wing Chun back in like 2002, and then I also did Chen style Tai Chi and Taekwondo.
Oh, nice.
I was doing all three concurrently at one point, but then I ended up just doing Tai Chi.
That's hard, eh? Doing multiple arts all at once.
Yeah.
It just takes you so much longer. So you never did any wushu or anything like that?
No. But I did the Tai Chi. So like we had our whole warm up and conditioning process was very similar to wushu. So it kind of gave me somewhat similar attributes. Maybe not as much speed and flair, but yeah, like we would do the kicking drills, we'd be stretching for 15 minutes, and like kicking drills, and then stance, and then form work, and then occasionally on Sundays we would do push hands at the park.
That's dope. Hey, listen, man, I'm telling you, like nowadays, I don't think people get to appreciate that as much. Like the old school training where you're, a few guys in the park or on a beach or something like that. For me personally, I prefer that sometimes over a gym. There's something about training outside that is like just feels like historic. You know what I mean? It's a different energy altogether.
Yeah, for sure.
How often do you do training outside?
Not very often right now. Well, it's been like really rainy and cold recently, and I haven't been feeling that hardcore. So I haven't been going to train in the rain. Just I was doing that early on during earlier last year.
I seen you stick some Thai pads on a post.
Yeah,
and you were kicking. I was like, look at this guy. I'm like, that's what? But hey, listen. But that's the kind of shit. Like, you have to find ways to do what you got to do. You know what I mean? And you have to be innovative and you have to be creative and whatever gets the fucking job done. Yeah. I don't think a lot of people do that. Instead of crying about, I don't have this, I don't have that. You're not looking to do that. You're looking to actually find a way to do what you got to do. And I think people need that mindset if they want to actually chase after something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I got like this random load-bearing pillar here in my apartment, and I've like put tape on it for like eyes and a chin and like a solar plexus,
just for accuracy.
Well, yeah, just for accuracy. And then I was during early lockdown, I was doing Boz Rutan's kickboxing workouts.
I just did it with my student the other day. I'm like, hey, let's come over, let's burn some covert fat off. So we did the boss Rudin, and then we did some pad work, and then we just cooled down with some like accuracy type drills. You know, like I kick him in the chest, he kicks me in the chest. I kick him in the thigh, he kicks me in the thigh. But yeah, no, dude. Hey, listen, I even tell people like record yourself on your phone.
Yeah.
You know, and then just do it that way. Like if you don't have access. But so what is your stretch routine like to maintain your flexibility? Because I would assume, and this is just me, I don't know for sure, but I would say that like these flip kicks and these tricks and stuff like this is something that's appealing to people when they're looking for stunt work. Is that safe to say? So that being said, like if that's your bread and butter, how often are you training the flexibility and the mobility in order to maintain?
I try to train the flexibility and mobility as often as I can. Sometimes I'll go through a streak of like being able to wake up and do a warm up, and then like do a stretch before I go to sleep for like a week in a row. But it falters here and there. Sometimes I get a busy schedule and just want to go to bed.
Of course.
But
how important is that to the industry?
To the industry, well, I feel like there are people that are more specialized in acrobatics than I am that they'll probably hire over me for those situations. But it's good for people to know that you do have some of that air awareness and coordination, at least if they need you to do something slightly acrobatic and doesn't require a specialist. And for wire work, it helps a lot too.
Tell me about that. That's one thing I never got to do, and it looks like it's a shitload of fun.
The wire work, it's a lot of fun. It's like reliving, the like old
kung fu movies
and TV shows that I grew up watching, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, part of me is like, finally, get me on a wire. I feel like I have better talent on that than the acro,
So how does that work? Like, when you do that stuff, do they like? Is it like are they able to hold you and suspend you, or is it?
Yeah, usually you got like the Kevlar vest with lots of pick points on it, so you clip the thing to depending what kind of flight you want on your body. Right? If you pick it like higher up on the back, then you're going to get pulled up a certain way. If you put it lower on the back, you get pulled up a certain way, and then you just have to coordinate with the pullers who are on a pulley system, and so they might come off a ladder and like pull you up and then feather you down so you don't break anything. And sometimes it's an air piston or an air ram that they call it, and they call that a ratchet. So they charge up this air piston that's attached to the rope that you're at, and this is usually for like big explosions or superpowers or something. You get blasted back 20 feet, and so you've got the rope holding you up, and then they go, and then the air ram goes off, and you go flying off.
Oh, that's fucking cool. What about if you're like forced to do like corkscrews and stuff like that? Is it a different type of wiring system altogether?
It depends. They might have something that wraps around you, or they might have a certain harness that can attach and you can spin inside it. So there'll be like a ball bearing kind of setup in there. It depends.
And so, like when you first did that, did you have to get training for that, or is it just like, hey, kid, get in here and off you go?
Oh, well, I haven't really done work days for it necessarily. So all of the stuff that I've done for it has just been practice and training and experimentation.
That's crazy. Did you go to when you were in Ontario? Did you go to the Monkey Vault a lot?
Yeah.
And how did you find that place? Like, because I know a lot of people went there to like kind of that's where they got a lot of their training for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing tricking since before Monkey Vault was even built, and like I went to the very first one.
Yeah, I remember that. And they had a capoeira school like right beside it too.
Did it? Oh man!
Yeah, it was like a little tiny place.
Yeah.
You walk in, they had like the wood pegs on the wall. They had the stairs, the balcony. They had the like, little mezzanine up in the top behind it where the was. They had a little pool, and they had a little rock climbing in the far back wall. I remember that. And there was like a capoeira school like 2 doors over in a little yeah, man. I remember that. So like how did you get into tricking, man? What made you want to get into tricking?
Oh wow, this goes way back. Let's see. I think I wanted to learn how to do a backflip at one point because I was switching into just doing Tai Chi, and kind of when I went into Wing Chun, it was more of a combative striking thing. Just wanted to hit people, teenager things, and then as I got into more and more Tai Chi, I started doing form competitions and whatnot. I was like, maybe I'll just get into flashy stuff. Like, how do I do a backflip? That's cool.
That's why I asked you if you did wushu, because I was like, oh, I think this guy might have done wushu.
Yeah.
But no, right?
I kind of wish I did, but that's just how it is now. I'm
you still do all the cool shit anyway.
that I met here. Sometimes I'm giving him Wing Chun. He's giving me wushu. So
that's the best, man. Barter system's the best.
yeah.
So how long did it take you to do your backflip?
Oh man, months at least. Had to be months to years. I started getting into this website called Tricks Tutorials, and it's run by a man named John Call, and his handle is Jujimufu. You've probably seen his videos. So he's like all into powerlifting and acro. His program is called Acrobolics, and he had a whole forum, online community of these trickers talking about training methods and how to condition your ankles, strength and conditioning related stuff, all these things. So like it was just a whole vortex of that between like 2003 to 2006, and I feel like 2006 was when I really started actually making progress on my tricking, and getting consistent with things like backflips. Because you get into it, and he's like, here are the basic tricks that you can do, and some of them I could do, and some of them I couldn't. So
I can't do a backflip anymore. Once upon a time, I could do it, and enough of this shit. I actually have it on camera, but if I did it now, I would fucking just smash my face. So, but like, it's kind of like weird, like how the body's not used to being upside down, and like I bailed a lot, like halfway through.
Yeah.
Did you ever injure yourself messing around with that? Have you ever had any serious injuries?
For the backflip specifically?
Any tricking. Did you ever get any serious injuries doing that shit?
I broke my foot in 3 places one time.
Oh, fuck, yeah, I can say that.
I broke 3 metatarsals.
How did you do that?
I was coming off of a trampoline. So we're at a gymnastics facility. There's a big Olympic-style trampoline into a big old foam pit. And sometimes when you feel like you're making progress on something, you put a crash mat on top of the foam pit so it feels like you have a surface to land on, but it's still soft.
Yeah.
So it was a pit full of soft things, right? What could go wrong? So, so my friend was like egging me on to do this front flip off the trampoline with a 1.5 rotation. So they call that a Rudy. Some people call it a Rudy. There's like delineation of terms or whatever, but one front flip with a 1.5, and I was getting pretty close into the pit. But of course, the pit you like sink in like it's quicksand, and it takes a while to get out. And so I tried it a couple times on the mat, and I was getting really close. And he was like, "You just gotta get more height, and then get into it." So I land like at like a 20-degree angle facing forward, right? Oh. And like my one foot was straight, and the other foot was like that. And so my toes went that way, and my knee went that way, like a heel hook, right?
Oh no!
And I like tried to bend my knees and fall backward because that seemed like a good thing to do. But then because I was at such a steep angle, I just kind of crumpled into my foot.
Oh man! How long were you out for?
At least 6 months. I think that happened in the summer. That happened in the summer after I graduated university.
So like with being a stuntman now, like how conscientious do you have to be now? Like I can't, I gotta maintain my tricking, I gotta keep up my training, but like I can't fuck myself up either because I can't work. What is that like? How extra cautious are you now when you're doing that kind of stuff? Or if you're learning new techniques?
I've always kind of been on the side of caution and wanting to have as many progressions towards things as I could. So like I've never really been the balls to the walls cowboy kind of mentality. And I think the industry as a whole is moving away from that now because lives were cheaper 50 years ago.
Wow.
And there's still a bit of that, like 1 to 2 generations back of just like there's people that are just a little bit older than me that would be like, well, back in my day, you break a hip and then you move on.
Yeah, that's so cut and dry anymore.
Yeah,
So
now
listen,
there's all kinds of liabilities and things.
what's your ultimate goal when it comes to this industry you're in? What would be the gig that you could be like, in my books, I fucking made it. I did it. I'm proud of myself.
Probably martial arts choreography, but the more I get into it and the older I get, the more convoluted that path looks. So if I get there, I get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Are you looking like, are you actually doing, do you do acting lessons as well to supplement so that, you're not just doing the stunt work, but you're actually getting into like possibly like a lead role with like your own stunts type of thing?
Yeah, it'd be awesome to be an action star or something like that, right?
Yeah, man, just keep doing it. You never know, right?
I've only just started getting into what I would consider formal acting classes. Like I had some acting related electives while I was in film school, and I did a lot of theater arts when I was in high school. But beyond that, I've had no like post secondary kind of acting training. I'm not a conservatory actor or anything like that. But it's good to supplement with just to be able to perform and be in character, and to maybe transition away from just doing stunts and getting smashed up all the time.
Right, because I mean, like don't get me wrong, I think it's fucking super dope that you're doing that shit. Like I'd love doing that stuff, but again, it wasn't something like where it was you who like was passionate about it and chased it. I was just kind of like, I'm lazy, but I'll do it. I like doing martial arts and I wouldn't mind doing it. But yeah, I could like, it's got to be something where because you're a martial artist, right? So martial arts, it really makes people want to progress. It really makes people want to keep building off what they know. And so I would imagine that you would want to do kind of like the same thing within the industry that you're doing, right? Because, why stop here when there could be so much more, right?
Yeah. Well, I feel like it's very much more complicated and diverse than just like progressing in martial arts. Like I feel like I've sacrificed a lot of opportunities to get like martial arts related accolades and like instructorships or whatnot, or to like build a following in that regard, just because I wanted to pursue film. And you don't really get certifications or anything out of that, other than like looking at heights or like your CPR or something,
And with regards to martial arts teaching, are you interested in becoming like doing that as well as a possible passion or livelihood? Are you looking, because you're very capable?
I had been considering it for a while, but right now it's sort of like I'll teach people if they ask me.
It's not your focus.
Yeah, no. Like unless I can operate out of a gym or a dojo, then it's just gonna be private sessions by request on a sliding scale kind of thing.
And what's your focus? What would you say you are if you were to call yourself any type of practitioner with regards to art? What would you say your forte is, or what would you say your passion in teaching is?
Oh boy.
Because you're very well-rounded as well. You've been around. You've done a lot of different arts.
Yeah.
Like even with me knowing you, I didn't really know. Like I know you, but I don't know you well. You know what I mean? But one thing I like about you is that you do. Like I feel like I relate to you on that level because I dabble in a lot as well, right?
Yeah. I feel like the best way to identify myself is JKD, but it's not necessarily JKD as the discipline itself that's been like written down or whatever, right? Because JKD is essentially kind of like the Lost Boys Club for martial artists who just had to move around a lot when they were growing up,
I like
that's because that's me.
I like that. The Lost Boys Club.
Yeah.
That's cool. That is cool. So with regards to JKD, right? Because you train under Sean
Yeah.
for your JKD, and Sean, if I'm not mistaken, is under Makoto.
Hmm.
And if I'm not mistaken, Makoto was under Vunak.
Yes.
So talk to me about how that introduction was with Sean. How did you meet Sean? How did you start your JKD training there? Or if it was even there.
The very first time I met Sean was in like 2008 when I went to the Throwdown because I read about it on Bullshido forums.
Which was a great place for the martial arts and the community, by the way.
Yeah. And then back then, I don't know what it was, but I couldn't quite get on board with the vibe there just yet. It just seemed kind of like almost too dangerous or something.
Yeah, in its early days, it was.
You guys are too badass. Like, I'm just gonna go stick with like an MMA gym.
Actually, believe it or not, I had my first stick fight there. It was padded. He went easy on me because I was popping my cherry. But yeah, Sean was great. But anyway, sorry. Back to what you were saying.
Yeah, I went away for a while and did just MMA related stuff, and then switched into like stage combat for a while, just doing my own thing. And then when I decided to go back to school for Chinese medicine in 2014, I decided to join up at Sean's school just because I felt like it might not be as exhausting as going to BJJ and Muay Thai concurrently. And I might learn something that's more on the technical side rather than just like conditioning and sparring, and then just get my ass beat when I have like an exam the next day.
That's a
and so yeah, it was really cool. I really appreciated like the intellectual kind of side of things, the intellectual maturity of a JKD school really pulled me in.
And
yeah,
you're also
really sort of like industry standard, like in the film industry, that people look to JKD and FMA just for general purposes.
Why is that? That's interesting to me. Why is that?
I think a big part of it had to do with the Born Identity and the Inosanto School in LA. Like a lot of stunt guys train out of there, and they're not exactly they're not just geared towards combat sports, which is what I ended up doing for a while back in Toronto. And so there's a huge connection there to the film industry itself. You know, Dan Inosanto has been involved since Bruce Lee, and
even with sports,
you know, out of there. Yeah.
So once you started training with Sean, at what point did you start experimenting with the silat?
It was kind of right off the bat, actually, because around the time when I joined Sean's school, that was when The Raid came out, and so silat was a huge trending thing, and I was like, oh wow, these guys in Toronto are teaching silat, kind of per se.
And this is before the SSBD.
This was in the midst of SSBD. He had already done some PCK, and yeah, some training with Maul and maybe Alvin as well. But he was really focused on the SSBD at the time when I first joined in. Yeah. I didn't know any of the abbreviations, so he'd be like, Sean comes out of the class, so what do you guys want to do? Some SSBD, some PCK, some blah, blah. I'm like, what are these words, man? Whatever, I don't know.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So the SSBD for me is like, I like it. I mean, I remember going there. I remember watching Maul, and like I fucking like stumbled onto a video on YouTube, and I was like, oh, what the fuck is this? This looks pretty cool. That these, you know, some of this material looks familiar, but you know, from different reference points. And so I was digging Maul. I wasn't like, you know, every video or subscribe, but if I seen him, I'd be like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna check this guy out. I like some of his shit. And then I see like Sean's like hosting this guy. I'm like, what? That's fucking cool. Like, so I made sure I was there right away. And you know what? I really enjoyed the seminar. I thought I thought a lot of it was very useful, and there was some of it that was just like what the one thing I took away from that seminar was I really enjoyed the basic knife drills we had,
Mhm.
where it was like block inside return, and then parry it on the outside. But what I really liked was how he kept it to like a combat, like military type battlefield drill set, where you'd be doing this, and then he'd just tell you to switch, and you would just attack the next person.
Yeah.
Like I keep that kind of drills all the time. It's very live. It's very, it'll get your adrenaline going. It's very safe. But the SSBD itself is a whole different flavor than some of the other Silat, which is very low
That's
base. And I know you train it as well. Can you like just give me a quick spiel on like the difference between the two, what you like more between the two, what you think the pros and cons are?
okay. So the two main styles of Silat that Sean led me to exploring are SSBD, which we talked about, and SBL, which is the ground. Well, they start off on the ground as a starting point, and they build up to you have agility standing up as well. And the difference would be like at first that's mainly it. One starts off on the feet and it's focused on handwork, so it's kind of like a kuntao approach. And
Okay.
culturally, it's linked to like royalty, and so you got to stand up straight, and you're fighting on
Very,
these narrow
very,
bridges on the waterways.
very proud art.
Yeah, so you got to stand up straight, and like whoever you're fighting, you don't want to like do a double leg on them because that like status wise that means you stooped below them. So you punch them in the liver so that they stoop below you, and then you push them into the river where the alligators get them. Right?
That's cool. Yeah, I remember him saying something like that.
Yeah, and then SBL is more from Indonesia, I believe. Yeah, it's more of an Indonesian style, but it's still not like pencak silat that you would see where they're doing competitions and stuff. I would liken it almost. It's almost like a halfway point between pencak silat and like Muay Boran. And you start off on the ground and you get strong in all these positions. And Alvin Gananow, who is the head instructor of that system,
Where is he out of?
he is out of the UK. The UK. Yeah, he's out of. He's a British lad, and learned this style of silat and like kind of developed a conditioning system out of it, designed to help Westerners do silat. Because in Indonesia, natively, everyone kind of sits on the floor anyway. They're used to moving around and having that mobility. But in the Western world, we grow up with chairs and toilet bowls and such, and so you never really have to squat down too low or like swivel around on the ground. So you develop the hip mobility and such, so that you can do these maneuvers.
Now, historically, why is it that they do, with regards to that art? Why is it such a low based art? Does that have to do with terrain, or like where does that come from?
I think that is definitely related to the terrain in a more grassy jungle, open kind of terrain, maybe even sandy or muddy. It's interesting, right? You wouldn't really want to be grinding your knees around if you're in like a rooty jungle area.
No, but you know what? Like I find it very, very interesting. Like a common friend of ours or a common person we've sparred with, Dave from Combat. Remember when he did the Shark Tank, the 11 strip?
Yeah.
Dave's got a really, really good low. Like he's able to stay low in his stance and be very fluid, and not just be defensive, but like attack well. And that's something that is like, I like that kind of energy. Not a lot of people give me that energy. Not to say that I prefer to fight that way, but I like fighting Dave because he makes me have to change because it's something I'm not used to.
Right.
Do you use a lot of that when you spar or when you play around with the stick or anything like that? Or do you find that it's just something you like training for the mobility and flexibility?
I do like it for the mobility and flexibility. I feel like SBL itself has helped me more with grappling and grappling and jiu-jitsu stuff more so than stick sparring. That's where usually the SSBD might come out in weapon sparring more so.
So yeah, that's interesting. So you would advocate SSBD more to hand like application in a sparring context, and the SBL is that correct? The SBL
Yeah,
more
yeah,
for mobility and flexibility type of regiment.
yeah. I think so. I think there's definitely a huge value in the conditioning aspect of SBL because like once you get into techniques and sequences and things like that, everything becomes very very similar. Um,
And how much of that helps you in the jiu-jitsu game?
it's definitely brought another layer to like my top game specifically, just being able to move around and
Mm.
there's a person under you helping you keep your balance while you're moving around.
How long have you been dabbling in jiu-jitsu, John?
I I've been a white belt since 2006.
You know what? I try to be a white belt. I try to be a white belt my whole life, man. Have you competed in jiu-jitsu?
No, I never stuck around for long enough. When I first started back in 2006, it was at Toronto BJJ, and then
Oh, is that on Christie?
yeah.
Yeah, I started there.
Oh no way!
Yeah, man. I started there way. Actually, no, that's a lie. That's the second place I went to. The very first place I ever started training martial arts was Academy of Martial Arts, downtown Brampton. It was a Goju Ryu system, and they had Gracie Jiu Jitsu as a supplementation.
Was
And
that
then when I
Shaw
moved,
Franco?
sorry,
That's Shaw Franco.
uh, I don't remember. Honestly, it was like 2002, but
Okay,
it was downtown Brampton, Academy of Martial Arts.
okay,
The guy who taught Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, he was a young white guy, but he was really good. And
okay.
then when I moved to Toronto, I started training there, and they had BJJs there. But I only wanted to do the BJJ, not the Goju.
Okay.
Um, and they said, no, you can't do one without the other. So I left. And then I started training, so different then, right? And then I started training at a Kung Fu place. I was doing Mopai. It was actually Mopai Kempo. And then I discovered Toronto BJJ because I had a friend who was training there. And it was nice. There was the upstairs. I think at the time, I think a guy named Fabricio was teaching there. I can't remember. But anyway, Toronto BJJ was a great place, man. I remember that place.
Yeah, I ended up doing more Muay Thai there for a while. I knew like I was coming from a traditional background, and then wanting to do BJJ kind of simply because MMA was trending. But then I just liked Muay Thai better, so I just got into that a little bit more. Just kind of had to like force myself to go to BJJ. Yeah, and then it just really on and off. Like my dedication and discipline are just like not there for that.
Yeah, but like honestly though, for a person who's like competing in jiu-jitsu or want to attain a certain level, that's one thing. But even the way that you're dabbling in it, there's nothing wrong with that because basic jiu-jitsu skills can save your fucking ass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Against somebody who has no, grappling. You get into some altercation with, your average fucking guy.
Yeah.
Even the time that you have is going to give you a huge, huge edge over somebody. I mean, we're not talking about weapons though, but just a straight grappling, like it'll still give you a huge edge over somebody who doesn't have that training.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not a waste. There's nothing wrong with that. But how often would you say you trained it? Like when you were training, how often were you training? Like once a week, twice a week?
Probably twice a week. Yeah. I think it was a Monday, Wednesday kind of thing back then.
And what did you like the most about it? What did you hate the most about it? Because obviously you might not have committed to it, but you kept going back.
He doesn't I don't know. That's a hard one.
I know. It's like a special person that keeps going back after somebody tries to choke you. Honestly, like
Learning how to get out of the chokes, I guess. Yeah.
I honestly train jiu-jitsu because I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like somebody on top of me trying to choke me. But it's the one thing I know, like if I don't at least, have some education here,
Yeah.
I realize that's a place that I can get hurt. So
Yeah.
I
It's
try
like
to,
a cooker kind of thing, right?
yeah, and it's weird. I love grappling when I stick fight. It's just, I mean, it's it works for me. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I don't know if I necessarily do that in real life. But with regards to stick fighting, I love using it there. And with regards to stick fighting, what is your favorite kind of sparring to do? Do you like stick fighting? Because I've seen you spar in stick fighting, but do you like sparring Muay Thai more? Do you like sparring where's your favorite? What's your favorite art to spar in,
I
and
think
why?
I like Muay Thai the most.
Muay Thai the most. So you're more of a stand-up guy, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, why Muay Thai?
I don't know. I feel like I just have just the most prepared for that kind of situation. out of all the other types of sparring I could be doing, I feel like I've had more experience with striking arts just generally.
And do you like incorporate your because you mentioned earlier that you would consider yourself more of a JKD guy, but you're saying that you enjoy sparring in a Muay Thai. Do you merge those two together?
Yeah.
How do you merge that? Because some people are going to be like, "Oh, how can JKD is its own thing?"
You can't be prepping with boxing gloves on.
Yeah. You know how it is. How do you employ your JKD training into like a Muay Thai context?
It depends who I'm sparring. Sometimes it just kind of occurs to me to try one or two things, and sometimes it just comes out by itself. Yeah, like I remember when I first started doing a lot of Muay Thai in Toronto. That was at TKMT. I was there for a while, maybe a couple years.
When you were in Thailand, did you spend a lot of time training at a gym?
I was in Thailand for a month in 2018, specifically to do Muay Thai at Master Toddy's.
And how was that, man? How is the Thai training there compared to now? Or to here, sorry.
Compared to here, there's a lot more. Well, I've never even been to any other Thai gym. So like that was the only gym in Thailand experience that I had, and I went there because a friend of mine recommended it to me based on the fact that I didn't want to just go and be a tourist and get yelled at to get tired because I wasn't a fighter. And then he, it was like get into the science of fighting right away, and like they get right into fight related drills. Right, you do the warm up, and then you get it, and then part of the warm up is this thing called have a dramatic name for it called the eye of the tiger. So you like try to maintain eye contact and have your guard up, where while your friend is like doing this to your face, and you try to flinch.
Now, be honest. When he said that, did you hear the song in your head?
Yeah, of course.
Sorry, bad joke. Anyway.
Fun fact: Master Toddy also has his own 30-round soundtrack. That it's the same song, and you hear his voice, and when there's 30 seconds left, you hear him go la 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 la.
No. You have this
throughout my entire training there.
Do you have this song on fucking? You can send that to me. That's like that'll be my new ringtone. Is it more vigorous? Like, did you find that it was way more vigorous, or did you find it was more like fight IQ based?
It was way more fight IQ based compared to my experience in North America.
Wow,
for sure.
So what's like the main things you took away from there?
Main things. There were so many things. Just like
just fuck. I'm curious.
There's a lot. There's a lot there.
Is this like refinement on just your fundamentals?
Yeah, I think so. Well, like just the drills were just super unique to me, right? They had like I can go from top down. Like we get the boxing boxing drill. They called it the traffic drill, where you're out of distance with your partner and you're just kind of throwing hands at the targets. They have like specific targets here, whatever. But that just relates to whether your fist is this way or your fist is that way for the chin, or whichever way you're doing. And then so you're doing this to each other, and as I throw, there's like negative space around that area. So what's open, right? And the other person is trying to throw into that space at the same time.
Oh,
right?
that's cool.
There's a space over here, so you would ideally throw a hook. And sometimes you'd accidentally fist bump each other, but then you just keep going, you know?
So you're learning to counter on the openings created by the other person's strike without actually hitting them by accident.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
And creating
you start out of distance with no boxing gloves whatsoever, and you just
a reaction drill.
Yeah, and then
you're essentially shadow boxing. You're shadow box. That's great for 6 feet distance in COVID land.
Yeah, like it's shadow sparring, right? I remember doing that in Hong Kong, and it was like they would slap a Thai pad down between the two of you, and you're like, "Don't touch the Thai pad. You're gonna shadow spar," and then you just, you know.
When did you go to Hong Kong? When did you go to Hong Kong?
Well, I would go. It wasn't like a regular thing, but I would go roughly once a year just to visit. Most of my family's in Hong Kong, so.
And did you do some training while you were down there as well, or?
Yeah, I would always find some time to do some training.
And what's the vibe like there for the training? Like this is amazing. This is cool to me because you gotta understand something. I'm fucking scared of fucking planes, right?
Okay.
So I don't travel like very often. I've been to Portugal, I've been to Cuba, I've been to Jamaica. Like 3 hours, no problem. I can kind of handle that shit. Going to Portugal, I was white knuckling the whole way there. So traveling is not for me, but I'm very interested in like how, you know, different cultures or different places train. Like what's it like?
Oh, okay. So if we're talking about like Muay Thai and kickboxing specifically in Hong Kong, there's a huge focus on interval training, or at least at the time that I was there. And it was interesting. It was the same.
When was that?
To 2007.
Okay.
Yeah. 2007, I was there after my first year of university, working at a bar that like it was on the bar strip, right? So we're at this bar. The door right next to it, upstairs, that's the Muay Thai gym. So I would go and do Muay Thai from 5 to 6, and then show up to work at 7 o'clock, and my shift would end at 4 a.m.
What? That's cool.
And it's like it's either a result of like people trying to be efficient with their time or whatever, but interval training was huge. So we'd get on the bag and it'd be like 20 seconds of kicks and then 10 seconds of shadow boxing, 20 seconds of kicks, and then the next workout you're literally just like running on the spot, 30 seconds fast, 10 seconds slow, 30 seconds fast, 10 seconds slow. Like the whole thing would just be interval training or high intensity interval training or Tabata. Wow. You know, it was hardcore.
Oh, that shit's tiring, man. That's just and
they make you do that, and it's like the whole concept is like speed kills, and like you have to out sprint your opponent, because when you first start out, it's like two 2-minute rounds or something like that. And I went to watch fights one time, and I saw multiple examples of like, this guy looks really technical. He's being evasive and he's like scoring, and then the other guy just sprints through him for 2 rounds and wins the fight. I was like, my money was on the technical guy, but then the other person just bulldoze their way through, sprints through both rounds, and then that's how you start off, I guess, before you have to before you're forced to become more strategic with longer rounds and more rounds.
That's pretty cool, man. And when you were in Thailand, did you go and watch any of the competition there? Did you get to go to Lumpini Stadium or any of the other stadiums to kind of just enjoy the fights there and watch the fights?
We went to watch the MX Muay Extreme.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was like a regular thing on Fridays, but I think we only went twice during my month there. Yeah.
What's that vibe like compared to, like, let's say, you know, an amateur pro competition here in North America? What's the difference in vibe there? What's the difference?
There was a lot of it was like indoors. It was in a kind of stadium setting. It was like pretty prime time, you know. It was all on TV, and you know, lights and lasers and all all of the things were there. So it was a
Exactly.
pretty big sporting event kind of thing. I didn't end up going to watch any of the fighters go fight at the gym because for some reason they didn't have fights just during that month. I don't know.
So if you got an opportunity to go train and say, hey, Jonathan, we're going to give you this role in this movie, you know, where would be the place you would love to go shoot? You would love to go shoot in?
Somewhere in Europe, I guess. I've never been to Europe.
You never been to Europe? Where have you? You've been to what? Asia? You've been to South America?
I've been to Asia. I haven't been to South America.
No, I've been to South America.
Mostly a lot of places in Asia and like North America.
Where in Europe? Where in Europe would you like to go? Well, what's the hot spot for like filming in Europe right now?
I'm not even sure. Probably the UK. Probably UK is pretty big. Yeah, I would say the UK, but like it's location based, just based on what kind of scenery they want. You know, Hungary's got really great scenery. If you've watched like Band of Brothers, and I was like, I saw that and I was like, I want to go there.
Man, there's so many.
It's like, oh, Hungary, okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like the film industry is like, it seems to be something it's for the guy who can like kind of pick up and go on the fly. You know, how does that affect your like family life? How does that affect your like personal life? You know, because there is a lot of sacrifice there, man. And not to get too personal or anything like that, but like, you know, like I think people who are possibly interested in doing this kind of shit need to take that into consideration.
Yeah, there's definitely a sacrifice in stability and structure in terms of like your general lifestyle, because you don't know. You get like I used to think 2 weeks was advance notice until I tried to like book out a space for something, and they're like, "Are you kidding me? We've been booked up for 3 months, right?"
Wow.
And I was like, well, I was 2 weeks, because sometimes you get as little as like 2 days notice or like the day of, like the Wu Assassins are literally 4:30 on a Friday and like, hey, come out to the burbs, all right?
Yeah, and you can't sleep on that, man. Like you got to take up that opportunity, or somebody else will, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's well. Listen, man. I'm gonna wrap it up, but
Okay.
I really appreciate you taking the time to do this with me, and I think it's pretty dope what you do, and you're a really talented guy, man. And I like seeing what you do, man. Like I'm 40 years old, so I can't really do too many backflips right now, unless I trip over my kids' toys. But hey, listen, I would love, you know, after this, you know, maybe sometime you can give me some routines to practice for mobility. Mobility drills. I think that would be pretty cool if you're willing to share that. And
Okay.
well, maybe we can do this again. But keep doing what you're doing, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I can appreciate your hustle, man, and the hard work. And you're definitely talented, man. So I wish you the best.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me. And it was great to like reminisce about all this stuff too.
Yeah, man. You know, I don't know if I got to actually. I can't remember, but I can't remember if we got to actually spar to throwdowns. I know we've.
We did. I was really scared of you.
Was it my nose? Was it my nose?
You're in like your sprinter stance, and then you do your Superman thrust. You're like, oh man, it's across the whole room, man. What are we gonna do?
We got to do some stick fights though, man. I think we've seen each other a few times too at Hunt Phillips when Guru Dan was there. I remember you went there with Sean and stuff like that. We're seeing you guys there. But yo, man, listen. Like I said, I've known you, but I haven't known you like super well. But I'd like to get to know you more. I'd like to train with you anytime you're around, man. You're super talented. Yeah, really good attitude, man. And yeah, keep doing what you're doing, man. I appreciate all your hard work and your work ethic.
You. I appreciate it.
All right, man. So where can they follow you? Where can they see all your cool shit? I got your Instagram here.
Follow me on Instagram. It's Kung Fu JP.
Where else can they see your stuff, man? Where can we see your reel, man?
My reel is on YouTube.
So what's the channel?
There should be a link on my Instagram bio.
Okay,
And-
perfect. I'm gonna take a clip of that for the intro here.
Okay.
That's you.
Yeah.
And yeah, man. All right, until the next time, Jonathan. Thank you so much. I wish you the best of luck, man. When you get famous, like I said, if you need a fucking bad guy with a mean mug, give me a call, brother. I'll do it.
All right. All right.
All right, later, brother.
All right. Take it easy.